Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime Symbol. And today I'm back with something new for you guys to enjoy. A brand new episode of What If Naruto Had Yhwach the Soul King abilities, guys. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Broke His Chakra Limiter over on Anime King 3. And also guys, I post a brand new episode over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto was Maharaga reincarnation. So go ahead, check out that guys and enjoy. And yeah, if you're new, I indeed have 3 more channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. Links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out and enjoy. So without further ado, wasting more time, let's begin this now guys. So the last time we left off, Mina, Naruto and Sasuke were sparring. Given their blended personality, it helped them get along as a team, and Kakashi was quite proud of that. However, Mina and Naruto seemed to be holding back. He wasn't sure what they were holding back, but they were indeed holding back, as he was watching them very carefully. However, their training was coming along well, as they were helping each other grow phenomenally. Kakashi realized that it was time to bring them into the outside world to test them, for them to gain experience, so they went on a mission towards the land of Wave, where they ran into the Demon Brothers. However, the Demon Brothers weren't really a problem for Naruto and Mina, and Sasuke either, as together they were strong, but Team 7 was stronger than them. As they took them down with that, they continue on despite the clear threat that was now in their way. Upon continuing on, they came across none other than Zabuza Momochi, as Mina told Naruto that he couldn't afford to hold back that much, because things were getting a lot more dangerous, and Naruto knew that she was right. So they fought and freed Kakashi. However, the Hunter Nin arrived, as Naruto glimpsed into the Hunter Nin future for him. However, there were so many aspects of them, having no idea how to fully control the Almighty yet. Naruto did not know everything that he could do. However, a lot of them ended with Kakashi losing and dying, because his body was at its limit after fighting Zabuza. So Naruto decided that he wouldn't do anything about it, he would simply allow it to happen. As they got back to the house, there were some problems with Iniri, which led to Naruto training as he tried to further control the abilities that he was blessed with, where he met the Hunter Nin once again. They spoke as Naruto knew who it was. He wanted to know why would someone this pure work for Zabuza. However, the Hunter Nin told him that Zabuza was a precious person to them. Naruto realized that the person would die for Zabuza, but in that moment Naruto also realized that he cared a lot for Mina as well, as when the Hunter Nin asked him if he had any precious people, Mina came to mind, and in that moment Naruto knew that he had to protect Mina and keep her safe no matter what. Yes, he had to, as Naruto would not allow him or anyone else to hurt the people that he cared about. Mina was the one that was left behind to watch over the family as they went to the bridge, as Naruto came face to face with Haku once again. However, Naruto was stuck watching the bridge builder as Sasuke took on Haku. It allowed him to awaken his Sharingan, but even then he was still not strong enough, as Naruto feared Sasuke's death. He had to do something, but no one was here to watch the bridge builder. That is when Mina arrived and told Naruto to go, which he immediately did as he jumped into the dome. As Naruto's actions caused Sasuke to nearly be killed, in that moment Naruto truly awakened the Almighty as a third pupil appeared in his eyes. Naruto saw the future where Haku would not hesitate to strike them down to protect his master. That is when Naruto was able to pick his own outcome, rewriting the very future itself. Instead of Haku striking Sasuke down, the needles were destroyed by Naruto changing everything. In that moment, Naruto learned more things than he ever could have learned, as he grabbed Haku and absorbed his essence and his power. Yhwach was able to absorb the spiritual energy of any of the Quincy's that he created, but Naruto wasn't just only a Quincy. Given the line that he formed down in the Senju, the Uzumaki, everything that was inside of him, his chakra had merged with his spiritual energy, allowing Naruto to completely suck Haku dry and steal his ability. After that was done, Naruto exhaled. His breath was immensely cold, yes, frozenly cold, as he absorbed the Yuki bloodline straight out of Haku like it was nothing. Zabuza tried to take Naruto's head off, but Naruto said Sang Swinger and created a powerful cross structure that destroyed Zabuza on the inside. It ripped the man apart, a both offensive and defensive attack, as it siphoned off his power and thrust him like he was nothing around. Gato and his men arrived as Naruto stepped forward and placed his hand down and created hundreds of ice spikes and ripped them apart. Naruto's personality, everything about him had changed, as he had truly been awakened as the person that he truly was. The blade that he had in his hand, the blade that he used to finish it all. Kakashi realized that Naruto was linked to something very more powerful than he could have ever thought. The people were celebrating though, as they were overwhelmed with cheers and joy, as they saw Gato was finally put to an end. They were finally free. Kakashi told them that they would spoke about this when they got back to the village. Mina spoke to Naruto a few days later as Naruto looked her directly in the eye and told her that if there was anything that she was hiding from him, she should tell him now. Mina wanted to tell Naruto everything, but she kept her missions. She kept her mission word, as she didn't say anything, as Naruto told her that he trusts her with his very soul. As he's realized that with what is about to happen, with all the changes, with him being able to be what he was right now, there was only a few people in this world that he can truly trust, and he trusts her with everything as he hugged her. Mina had tears in her eyes as she felt so ashamed, as she knew that there was many things that she was keeping away from him. The whole reason why she and her sister was even in Konoha. She wanted to say something, but she did not. She was worried though, what would Konoha do with Naruto being a Quincy? However, Naruto was not worried. It's not like they could kill him. With that, they went back to the village. When Kakashi was alone with Naruto, he told Hiruzen that Naruto was connected to Yhwach. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought. If you guys can switch across and please check out yourselves to begin this new episode. Tell me everything, Urza said, as she was looking towards Mina. She told her everything that happened on the mission. As Mina was worried, he asked me if there was anything I was keeping away from him, because he wanted to trust me. He knows that with his identity now being revealed, everything he's heard about the Quincy, everything that he's found out, that things might become a bit difficult. I told him that there was nothing I was hiding from him. He did not try to use the ability on me. He accepted my words as they were, and told me that he trusts me with everything. And I stood there, and I kept everything a secret away from him. Urza placed a hand on her sister's shoulder. I know it's difficult, given how close you and Naruto have become. But our orders, so what about our orders? I mean, come on. He's gonna be the one to lead us. The one that we were promised. That is him. We're supposed to be telling him the truth and telling him everything. Why won't the others allow us to tell him? Mina, you need to calm down, Erza said. I know things are difficult, I know. It's hard for you, but still, it is not our place, and we are not to break the rules. You've seen where breaking the rules got others. Mina looked down. What if when we do tell him the truth, he doesn't trust me ever again? Come on, out of everyone else, Naruto chose to tell you everything. He trusts you without a doubt. He will understand when the time comes why. Things needed to be kept away from him. She looked towards her sister. I pray that you're right. Because I don't want to ruin anything. Just because I was too afraid to tell him why we are truly here. And why we've been watching over him. Everything's gonna be alright. We just have to wait for orders, Erza said. Mina released a breath. Fine, she said. But what do you think the Hokage is going to do about that? I doubt that he's going to do anything regarding Naruto. However, he's perhaps going to want Naruto to conceal his abilities, so the world won't become a wiser. However, that's not going to stay that way for much longer. Erza said, looking down towards her. Meanwhile, in the office, the only person throughout history to do the kind of things that Naruto did was Yhwach, the leader of the Quincy clan. The only man that had been able to manifestate that blade and use it the way that Naruto did. Hiruzen Sarutobi was shocked as he looked at Naruto after the information that Kakashi just dropped in his lap a moment ago. Naruto was calm, extremely so. His expression was more than calm, a bit unreadable. Something seems different. Hiruzen couldn't put his finger on it, but something just wasn't right. As Hiruzen listened to what Kakashi had to say, taking in all of the information, then a thought came to his mind. How long have you known? He said. Kakashi was confused as he realized Hiruzen was talking to Naruto. But why would Naruto know that, he thought. On that day, when you fought Mizuki, you asked me about the Quincy clan. I always wonder what was your suspicion about them. But now, it is laid out all in front of us. Do not lie to me, Naruto, he said. How long have you known? Naruto's gaze was still unreadable. Kakashi was worried. As he looked at the two the way they looked at one another, it seems like they were about to fight. But Kakashi doubted that would be the result of this simple conversation. For a couple of years now, said Naruto. Years, Hiruzen said. Why didn't you say anything, he asked. I wanted to know myself. Wanted to know what, Hiruzen said. What exactly was so horrific about the Quincy clan? You yourself said it. The kind of people that they were. I wasn't able to gather any information. When I first found out about the things that I could briefly do, they confused me. I thought something was wrong with me, said Naruto. I tried my best to understand, but I was coming up with absolutely nothing. I didn't understand it all until I found a book about Raishi and the brief information that us ninjas know about the Quincy people. The more I read, the more I start to understand, the more I know. The more things that the books did not contain. And then I spoke to you. The way you spoke about them. The way you called them and described them like they were monsters. Tell me, if you were my age and in my situation, would you have said anything to your superiors? After believing that you were connected to a clan of monsters that seek to destroy the world, I understand your thought process, but that still does not change anything. Having this kind of information, you should have said something to me. You know, I am just here to help you, correct? I know, said Naruto. However, to the victors go the spoil. They're the ones that write the history. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes at that, immediately understanding what Naruto was saying. Listen to me very carefully. I'm not sure how you are linked back to the Quincy people, but you don't know what you're saying. You might think that things are two-sided or that it's not black and white, but it was. The desired goal of the outcome that he wanted was the extermination of us people. If he had his way, you wouldn't have been here right now. I understand what you're saying, but I simply don't accept it, said Naruto. Kakashi was shocked to what Naruto was saying. I don't know how I'm connected to them, or why. However, there had to be another reason why he seek the utter destruction of the elemental nation. I doubt that anyone want pure destruction for no reason. Naruto lied, knowing everything but keeping it to himself. However, Naruto did not feel like he should bounce around his opinions. Since awakening, the other pupil in his eye, Naruto's mind has been opened to a new level of understanding. But my thoughts and opinions don't really matter because the Quincy clan is now gone, said Naruto. And there is nothing left to link me back to any single one of them. So there should be no future altercation, Naruto said. Hiruzen was actually terrified of the mindset that Naruto seemed to possess. Confused as well, where did Naruto get this mindset from? If it was anyone else, it would have been not that bad, but Naruto was a holder of the nine-tailed fox. He was a Jinchuriki, a very powerful asset to the village, and a very dangerous one as well. And now, possessing abilities like this and possessing a mind like that could be truly problematic. Hiruzen had to make sure that Naruto doesn't go down a path that would lead him to venture against his own village and to turn into an enemy. He had to make sure about that immediately before things are taken out of the path that he cannot control. However, there are still others around the elemental nation that knew the threat that the Quincy once posed. Stories going down in history. If people were to find out about this, and his name being Uzumaki, there will be no doubt people sent to collect his head. So Hiruzen forbade Naruto from using these abilities, as they would put his life in a constant state of jeopardy, and he wasn't strong enough to protect himself against the forces that would challenge him. Hiruzen expected an answer from Naruto, but the way that Naruto looked at him, it got Kakashi worried, as he too saw the changes that took place in Naruto in such a short amount of time. It seems like a minute, but it was just seconds, as Naruto agreed to keep this under wraps for the time being. Naruto was dismissed, leaving Kakashi and Hiruzen in there. Both men discussed Naruto's change of attitude and personality, something that they had to snuff out immediately. It was the same mindset that Yhwach possessed, and Hiruzen couldn't allow Naruto to fall down that rabbit hole, as he sat with Kakashi and spoke to him on what was going to transpire after this. Making his way, Naruto's mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts. He didn't feel like the same person that he was when going to the land of Wave. Ever since his eyes truly awakened to what the world was, Naruto felt a different sense of purpose, a different sense of understanding as he made his way, his mind filled with so many thoughts. It brought him back to what Yhwach said about his time, when all he did was survive, nothing else. That is what their people did. They never truly lived. They fought to survive. They struggled to survive each and every day. Naruto looked down in his palm. As his hands started to become extremely cold, he could feel Haku's bloodline coursing through his veins. He didn't just strip Haku of his technique, he stripped Haku of his entire Yuki identity, as the assimilation of his bloodline was now decrypted into his very DNA, and Naruto could feel it. Now he understood why Yhwach said that he was different, that he was special. It wasn't just that they possessed the same power of the Almighty and many more, but it was a blending of the different clans. There was the Maki and the Senju as well. And not to mention his chakra, something that Yhwach never possessed. His chakra merged with his spiritual energy and his collection of Raishi, as he was able to combine the two and merge them into one to create something far more powerful and deadly. And he could feel all that power coursing through him. And with the awakening of the true set of the Almighty, Naruto felt his power increase as it brought a little smirk to Naruto's face. Time skip. A few months later, "Stay where you are," said Naruto. His words froze Sasuke and Mina as he was speaking to them. Neither of them moved as Naruto turned his gaze. In front of him was a man known as Shibuki, as he was being knocked around. His opponent was another man known as Suyin. Shibuki was not fighting. He wasn't. Claiming to give his own life, praying that the man would not destroy his village and harm his people. That was until one of the young girls, one of the civilians, ran out, trying to help Shibuki. She was young and naive, not realizing the danger that she was truly in. One of Suyin's people thrusted a water attack towards her. Shibuki jumped in the way. As the attack hit him right in the back, he grimaced in agony as the young child was crying, not wanting to see him get hurt anymore. It was supposed to be a simple mission. Team 7 was to accompany Shibuki back to his homeland, the land of Waterfall. However, Kakashi was called back to the village, and Shibuki had another mission for them, as the children were outside cleaning up the trash that were in front of the waterfall. He desired their help to finish with the operation. However, at that exact moment when Kakashi fled, Suyin, former teacher of Shibuki, who believed that he was a rightful ruler, Shibuki's father was the former leader of the village. And after passing away, the title now rested in his palm, but Shibuki was a coward. Suyin drank something known as a hero water that quadrupled his chakra in ways that many couldn't understand. So it seems like Shibuki did not stand a chance, as Suyin was beating the living crap out of him. However, Shibuki was giving his life up to try and save his people, and a part of him was still the coward that he once was, that hid in his father's shadow, not knowing that it was his time to step up. It's time to do something about it. The reason why Naruto commanded the other two to stay where they were was because the whole change that took place in Naruto. Naruto did not want either of them to intervene. Shibuki was not a weak and pathetic person. He had the power to fight back, however, he wasn't using that power. And Naruto's mindset was a lot different than it was before. Not jumping in to help, he wanted to see if he would just stand by and allow himself to be killed. And there was no doubt in Mina's mind that Naruto would allow him to die if the man did not start to fight back. Naruto's words were commanding so much that Sasuke and Mina did not intervene. His words gave off the presence of power that alerted Suyin and his people. However, they chose not to do anything regarding them, as the battle seemed to be a one-on-one, Shibuki fighting for his people. Shibuki realized if he died right here, there wouldn't be anyone to protect these people, these children. He got up with this new sense of courage that he never had before and started to fight. However, even then, he stood no chance at all. Suyin was empowered by the hero's water as he sent Shibuki into the ground. Always a naive one, even when I train you to try and overcome that. My power has skyrocketed because of the water, something that you're too foolish to drink. There is no hope of you defeating me. And now, there is no chance to surrender anymore. I will use you as an example for those that step out of line, he said. He created a powerful drill on his arm. It was coursing with water as he thrust it towards Shibuki's head without hesitation. However, the attack was blocked. Naruto was standing in front of the man, his arm tanking the technique. The center of Naruto's palm was glowing with strange blue markings. It was an ability that allowed him to strengthen his form beyond normal procedure, allowing him to take that technique without even a scratch. It didn't only strengthen him physically to defensive wise, he can also use it to strengthen him to offensive wise as well, as he was using the Raishi in his body and manipulating it to an extreme degree. However, his Raishi was not the only thing. His chakra was also intertwined, which made it a lot stronger than what it formerly was in the past when it was used by Yhwach. Shibuki opened his eyes as he thought he would have died. You've proven yourself not to lie down and accept your fate. Despite the situation, you tried to fight back. And for your efforts, I will annihilate them all, said Naruto. His words sounded so easy, so much so that Suyin scoffed, thrusting out another drill attack as he tried to pierce directly through Naruto. As Naruto's back was turned towards him, the technique was disrupted and simply dissipated. Suyin was confused. What the hell? When Naruto turned, Suyin saw his eyes. His pupil. What the hell is going on? He said, stepping back slightly. However, when he looked down, a blue blade was going through him. The others immediately rushed in. However, Naruto's eyes landed on them as a black void erupted from Naruto's shadow. It consumed them. Immediately they fell to their knees. This was a representation of the aura that came from Naruto. His spiritual energy. It overwhelmed their mind, their soul, their essence. They dropped to their knees, submerged, feeling like they were being drowned, and they could not fight it back, their mind being picked apart and broken. Suyin collapsed down to one knee as the blade resided in his stomach. Before he could utter a word though, Naruto created an arrow and placed it right at his throat and fired without hesitation. The weapon burst through his throat, causing the man to gag and gasp. As he fell back, 3 more arrows were formed, so simple by Naruto. They ripped into him, tearing through him like it was nothing. As Naruto kept on firing them, until the man was a bloody stain on the ground. The powerful warrior that had just consumed the water to make him at least 3 times powerful than he once was, fell to a mere child. It seemed inconceivable, impossible. Naruto's eyes were turning back to normal as he stepped to the others. The mere sight of his face alone caused them to flee, despite their loyalty that they once had. The moment he took away the spiritual energy, the moment he nullified their fear of him, they ran. In their hallucinatory state, they were able to see the arrows. While they might be inexperienced and young because of the past, it wouldn't take long for their words to spread. Mina realized something. Naruto did this intentionally. She had no doubt in her mind that Naruto could have killed each and every one of them without hesitation, but he allowed them to flee. Mina was worried. His treating towards her had not changed one bit. In fact, he seemed to care about her even more. But it wasn't that. Naruto seemed to be going down a dark path. She knew that he had to take the rightful seat as the leader of the elemental nation, but it seems different, more darker than she originally thought. Sasuke, on the other hand, marched up towards Naruto and grabbed him by the shirt, complaining about him stopping him from intervening. As Naruto's attitude switched from the merciless killer to a rather calm, friendly individual, he simply explained to the Uchiha that he would have simply gotten himself hurt. Suyin was much too strong for him, and besides, he wanted Shibuki to regain some confidence. Strangely enough, Sasuke listened to Naruto's words rather easily without much fuss, despite Naruto denying the opportunity to fight, and him not even realizing that Naruto's mere words made him fall in line without hesitation. It was strange. However, the members fled, each and every one of them, despite how much time Suyin has spent recruiting them, converting them to his side. They fled with their life, not looking back not even once. Time skip. That was 2 months ago. Throughout those 2 months, word spread across the elemental nation like wildfire. Hiruzen knew that Naruto purposely allowed the information to get leaked. He did not even put much effort in denying that he did, simply saying that he had to use more than the necessary strength to protect his comrades. The others collaborated Naruto's story because to them Naruto simply wanted to protect them. Mina knew the truth though, but Sasuke believed that Naruto took on Suyin because his strength had grown to monstrous levels. However, Naruto's personality and attitude were going in the complete wrong direction, as he was being spied on by Kakashi. Hiruzen, being rather concerned by Naruto's new, daunting output on everything, Mina had spoke to him regarding him allowing the information to leak. He told her that he did. He had plans. He didn't explain them to her though. He simply changed the topic. Mina was starting to get a bit worried even though her mission was coming along rather well because he was becoming the leader that they all needed, but why did it feel like she was just worried? However, outside of the village, word reached to all corners of the elemental nation. A far distance away, standing on a high balcony, was a man. Someone walked up behind him as he turned. A beautiful red-headed woman stood behind him. She was dressed in an elegant white dress that was strangely fit for a ball and for also fighting as well. The clothing was a blend between two. The man, on the other hand, that stood there possessed long blonde hair and bright blue eyes, borderline green. The girl bowed her head as she spoke. "Lord Hashwall," she said, "I have news." He turned and faced her, an indication for her to speak. It seems like word has reached through the elemental nation that there is a Quincy in their midst. But not just any Quincy. Many are saying that he's a direct descendant of Lord Yhwach, and he's come to wreak vengeance on the entire elemental nation. Even now, many are calling for his death, despite not having the full understanding of the situation. The man, now identified as Hashwall, turned his gaze, looking over the balcony and gazing down towards the distance below. Wherever they were, it was extremely tall, given that he was looking down at mountains. Mina and Erza has done their jobs rather well. They have guided the young lord to take the rightful position. It seems he's tired of concealing himself. and wished to make himself known. But sir, how do you know that this was a purpose doing? Ashwal simply gazed up to the heavens as a smirk crossed his features. The time has begun, he said, as he turned and walked past the woman as she proceeded to follow him, summoning the others. She nodded, yes sir, as she made her way off. Meanwhile, Team 7 arrived towards the academy. They were signed up for the chunin exams by Kakashi. As they all arrived, making their way inside, Sasuke was really looking forward to this. You could see the excitement on his face. Having tested himself against the strongest among strongest, now this was going to be fun, he told himself. While that was going on, Hiruzen resided within his office. 10 meetings so far, all of them regarding Naruto. Hiruzen knew that once the cover was blown, he wouldn't be able to put it back under control. The council wanted to know what he was going to do regarding this. Many of their option was to recreate the Quincy clan within the village. Having the Quincy's under Konoha control would put them at the top of the top forever, for all of eternity. The clan that fought the entire world and almost won. If that boy was able to repopulate within the Hidden Leaf village, they would be unstoppable. No one would be able to stop them. There were many pushing for this, believing that it was the right thing to do. However, Hiruzen decided to stand up for once. As he wouldn't start anything just as yet, he was monitoring the situation. He could already hear words outside of the Elemental Nation reporting back to him. People were calling for Naruto's death, believing that he was the second coming of Yhwach. Some of these people weren't even alive then. However, they heard stories and it terrified them. And being the only Quincy that was left by their thoughts, they wanted Naruto to be put down, to snuff out that insignificant bloodline once and for all. Yes, people were calling for his death. However, those people did not have anything to do with the Hidden Leaf village. However, news had reached all of the top players like the Raikage and the Tsuchikage as well. There was a whole lot of problems going on in Kira right now, so that was a big mess. However, Hiruzen knew that soon enough, someone will try to make a move. If it's not death, it was kidnapping. However, they would be sadly mistaken if they thought that Naruto was defenseless. Yes, they would be sadly mistaken. For now though, Hiruzen was just going to monitor the situation. As he released a heavy breath, he was getting too old for this position. Yes, too old. Meanwhile, those who saw Naruto as they heard the rumors, some of them were worried, even more than before. Because it's not like he was just a Quincy. He was a holder of the 9 tails as well. However, some was actually hearing good things. Hearing that this boy was going to be something of greatness very soon. Because he was carrying the bloodline of a once powerful clan of people that they would try to migrate now through him in the Hidden Leaf, strengthening the village much more than before. So there was a divide, a split between the two at the moment. However, the most of the shinobis were realizing the benefits of him raising a clan within the Hidden Leaf, knowing that Konoha would be number 1 for the rest of eternity. If they added the power of the Quincy through the ages, they would be unstoppable. Arriving, Naruto saw through the genjutsu instantaneously. He grabbed Sasuke from intervening and whispered something to him. With that, the group made their way, ignoring everyone else. He simply told Sasuke that these were the weak of the weaklings, and he didn't want the weaklings to waste their time. as they made their way off going through. However, they were spotted. Rock Lee chased after them, after ditching his teammates. Having circled around, Rock Lee met them in the gym. "Hey you," he said, jumping down. Rock Lee believed in hard work. Hearing about Naruto's recent discovery, that he was a part of this ancient clan known as the Quincy's that possessed unbelievable power, Lee intended to defeat Naruto to show that hard work can overcome anything. "I refuse," Naruto said, as he simply started to walk away, crushing Lee's dreams of what he desired to do, as Naruto had no intention of fighting him. However, Lee believed if he simply attacked, that Naruto would retaliate, so he did. He came at Naruto head first with a spinning kick. Naruto weaved underneath it though as Lee landed. He went back at Naruto with 3 punches this time, as Naruto evaded all of them, causing Lee to believe that Naruto was weaker than him in terms of physical attributes. So he kept up the assault. However, his attacks were not landing. That was until Naruto grabbed his leg. Lee was surprised as Naruto hit him in the chest. Naruto's hand was covered in the blue veins once again. The moment he hit Lee, Lee's eyes turned white for a moment. Spit flew from his mouth. His body was launched with a shocking amount of speed before he crashed into the wall. Lee lay there in agony, a shocked look on his face. By his perception, Naruto had barely touched him. However, Naruto had simply gathered the energy into his hand and released it upon making contact, causing a heavy amount of damage as Lee struggled to get back to his feet. Unable to believe that one hit would damage him so much, he refused to accept that though, as he decided to go at it once again. There was no hesitation as he charged directly towards Naruto. The technique was called Blunt Veiny, when Lee slammed his fist into Naruto's face. Naruto did not move, instead he tanked the blow. The blue veins going across his face. "Did that satisfy your curiosity?" said Naruto. "So you can take a punch," Lee said, pulling his arm back. "A very youthful display of your defensive strength. However, I am far from letting my spirit and my flames shine beyond comprehension," Lee said, seeming more excited than before, as the fact that Naruto was a lot stronger than he thought did not bum him out. Instead, it made him want to prove just how much his hard work had gotten him. However, Naruto was not interested in a drawn-out battle, as he moved his arm. That is when Guy arrived. Lee was ashamed, as he immediately apologized, but his sensei punched him for doing something so unyouthful, especially at the start of their soon-to-be exam. Guy was watching Naruto carefully. There was a reason that Guy chose to interrupt now, having arrived on time to see the front of the battle. Guy himself was curious about the Quincy's, and who better than his student to test the Quincy around their age. However, the moment Naruto had raised his hand, Guy got a bad feeling. Over the years, he learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts were telling him to stop the match immediately. And he was right, because Naruto would have dealt serious damage to Lee a moment ago, as Naruto had no intention of killing him though, understanding that he just loved to test himself. Upon speaking after a while, with Guy claiming that he was stronger than Kakashi, they made their way off. Naruto did not doubt what the man said. Despite looking so harmless, Naruto could feel a beast behind that garden, a powerful beast. Kakashi was there waiting on them, as he wished them good luck. Through the entire time, Sasuke was brooding. So far, no one has been paying attention to him. If that Lee individual wanted to fight anyone, he should have fought the last Uchiha within the village, not Naruto. As they entered the room, all eyes were turned towards them. Bloodlust was sent their way. Immediately, Naruto released his spiritual energy, dominating every single one of them. Once again, they felt like they were being consumed. Even Gaara, arguably the most powerful there, felt like he was being swallowed as Naruto released the spiritual energy. If he had not done that any sooner, if he had left it for longer, things would have gotten really bad because Gaara wasn't liking that feeling and he wanted to get rid of it. And he would have tapped into the power that dwelled inside of him, and they would have had a chaotic affair on their hands. The rest of the members of their graduation class enter. Naruto would have liked to say former fangirls, but they were pretty much the same. Mina sat beside Naruto as the both of them sat on the ground, ignoring most of what was going on. She was speaking to him rather casually. He talked to her so normally, like nothing had absolutely changed, despite the kind of person that he was now, which was a completely different person. The first test relied on seeing if they had the guts to stand up for what they believed in, to see if they would go through with the difficult choices despite being told that if they failed they would never, ever pass Genin. Naruto used the ice manipulation that he took from Haku to create small mirrors. He saw that Sasuke already had it controlled with his Sharingan, using it to copy the answers from someone's movements. However, he did so for Mina as well. She gave him a tiny thumbs up as she was able to see the reflection of the answers, as Naruto wrote them on his paper as well, realizing that they were meant to cheat. His theory was confirmed when Ibiki told them at the end of the class testing. The next member to enter was someone who was much more unconventional. Uncle Midarashi, as she burst through the window, hanging up a banner that said the sexy Uncle Midarashi. She took them to an area known as the Forest of Death. Mina and Naruto has been here. A very dangerous place, but Naruto came here for target practicing. The animals in here were quite vicious, as he learned how to control his bow and arrow, mostly specializing in his arrows. Fine, Naruto said, as he gave Sasuke the Heaven Scroll, him believing that he was a better choice to hold it, as Naruto figured that it would stop his, well, one-upmanship. They made their way in the forest, as Naruto could tell that they were being watched from the get-go. They traveled for around 15 minutes. He gazed towards Mina. She seemed to notice. Sasuke did not. Naruto looked down as the ground rumbled. Immediately, Naruto moved, moving the other two as well. As a snake emerged, Naruto split it in half, his blade situated in his hand. What the hell, Sasuke said, not even able to react to the goddamn creature. Naruto then turned his hand towards the left. 10 arrows formed as they shot into the foliage, ripping the trees apart. Someone quickly emerged as another snake came from behind. Naruto thrust his hand out as a cross, entrapped the snake before ripping it to shreds. The person landed on the branch above them and released a heavy dose of bloodlust. Sasuke saw his death over and over again as Mina dropped to one knees. Naruto was unaffected though, as he stepped in front of them. His spiritual energy slammed into the grass kunoichi with a ferocity. The woman stepped back, sweat forming on her forehead as she took a breath, struggling not to fall down to her knees as Naruto relinquished his spiritual energy. My oh my, it seems like they were right about you, the Quincy, she said, having a great interest in the young boy. She She wasted no time as she descended with speed that was far above chunin level. However, Naruto blocked her punch pretty easily. All she did was smirk though. She opened her mouth as a snake emerged and lashed out towards Sasuke and Mina. Mina immediately swifted away as Sasuke threw a kunai in the snake's forehead. The both of them jumped away for good reason as Naruto brought his blade down, causing a violent eruption. The woman was thrown as she crashed into a tree, it being so thick that it stopped the force that she was thrown with. She slowly emerged. "How about a little one-on-one," she said, "just to see how strong you are." Naruto had not yet spoken. She attacked him. Their battle engaged with the both of them trading blows. The woman proving to be far stronger than your average genin. However, Naruto was also far stronger as well. Until they separated and Naruto spoke. "You can cut the sham, Orochimaru," he said. The Sannin was surprised. "There's only 2 people within the village that can summon snakes." "Yes, I did my research. I've been doing a lot of that lately," said Naruto. "And I doubt that that woman out there will do something like this. Besides, I could feel your eyes on me during the exams. You hid your bloodlust rather well, but I know who you are," said Naruto. The Sannin started to chuckle as he ripped off his face. The moment he did so though, Sasuke rained a massive fireball down towards him as Mina released a wind attack. The collaboration jutsu ended up erupting. The Sannin thrust out of it though, his lower half as a snake. He reached Naruto in seconds and threw a powerful punch, with the intention to knock Naruto down. However, Naruto threw one right back. Their fists collided, creating a little shockwave. Orochimaru saw the strange blue veins around Naruto's hand. Naruto opened his palm and gripped Orochimaru's before. The Sannin pulled his waist away as Naruto swiped. The pressure though blew the Sannin back. He flipped as his legs returned back to normal and landed. When 2 kunais with explosive tags landed beside him. Boom! He went underground. He appeared behind Sasuke as he was about to bite the young boy. Orochimaru was confused though as he felt his body lost touch. When he realized that he was cut in half, the Sannin was shocked. His upper half then was violently kicked by Mina as he crashed to a tree. Naruto was the one that sliced him as he grabbed the lower half of the snake. Naruto drove his blade in it, ripping it apart. Orochimaru upper half released snakes and regrew his lower half. "What the hell? How the hell did he survive that?" Sasuke said. As Orochimaru got to his feet, he was impressed. The child actually bested him in his speed. Granted, he was not going all out, but still, he was more than impressed. Naruto started to crick his neck and release the tension in his body. "I need you two to stand down," he said. "What?" Sasuke was ready to argue, but Naruto looked towards him. "This guy's no joke," said Naruto. "He's Orochimaru of the Sannin. He's holding back severely, I can tell. And I need to fight him without any restrictions in the way." "I'm stronger than you," said Naruto. "And I know that you know that. If we attack him all at once, he would use us against one another. But if I lose, you have the go-ahead to end his life." Sasuke wanted to complain, but Naruto's argument was solid. Maybe it was the constant collaboration with his team that made him no longer the arrogant, prideful person that he once was. "Naruto is right," said Mina. "He's stronger than the both of us. We can support him." Sasuke begrudgingly agreed, as the both of them got away. Orochimaru gritted his teeth under that. He was here for the Uchiha, but he was also here for the Quincy as well. A Quincy. He never thought that he would actually lay eyes on one. He heard the stories, he heard the rumors, and this boy. This boy was going to give him all that he desired. Orochimaru's intention was to kidnap this boy. He would still mark the Uchiha. He always had a backup plan. However, he wanted to be able to manipulate Raishi, something that he cannot do because of his physiology. Watching the teammates run away, Orochimaru thrust past Naruto as he headed for Sasuke, wanting to bite him first. However, Naruto appeared in front of him, stopping the Sannin as he immediately spit a snake out of his mouth that Naruto slashed. Orochimaru flipped away. "Did I tell you that you can go after them?" said Naruto, standing there firmly. "I am your opponent now. Given your title and who you are, I doubt that you would want me to hold back. So here it is," said Naruto. "All of it." Naruto had no idea what the Sannin want or why he was even here, but he was a threat to his comrades. And Naruto did not take things like that lightly. Violent! Blue energy erupted from Naruto's core. It spasmed. It shook. Sasuke was shocked at the obscene amount of power that erupted from Naruto. He knew that Naruto was strong, but the mere fact that he's been holding back this all along was mind-boggling. Even Orochimaru stepped back, a look of pure shock residing on his face, as the Raishi and Chakra mixed together, creating a perfect harmony, released unlike ever before. Like a rain of current, the trees, the ground, the foliage, everything was parted away, like a god descending on the ground. Naruto's body was covered in it, his blade even growing in size as well. His eyes focused with the Sannin. Orochimaru spat out a blade, and the both of them moved and clashed. Their speed was phenomenal. Sasuke could not keep up. He had to activate his Sharingan. Mina seemed to be able to see the fight though, showing just how much she was actually holding back as well. For her young age, that was truly impressive. Things got a lot worse for the Sannin though, when Naruto opened his eyes. Truly, Orochimaru saw the pupils. The Sannin eyes widened as Naruto's speed, everything was different. Orochimaru tried to get behind him, but it resulted with 5 holes in his upper torso. One so close to his heart that it was nearly skewered. Naruto slashed Orochimaru in half. Immediately, the Sannin opened his mouth and jumped out. However, his body was encapsulated in a strange, powerful cross. A violent scream tore from Orochimaru's throat as the power accumulated and violently erupted on the inside. Orochimaru's body collapsed down to the ground, smoke coming from it, as Naruto landed and made his way towards the Sannin. That is when the ground behind Naruto erupted as Orochimaru emerged with his Kusanagi blade. "I can see it all," said Naruto. Orochimaru's blade was sliced in half, shocking the Sannin as Naruto sliced off his arm and grabbed him by the face. Naruto started to suck his chakra out of him, Orochimaru feeling incredibly weak, as the essence of his body started to immediately die down. Orochimaru did a fail-safe and erupted out of his own back. Using his technique in an irrational way, he collapsed on the ground. A large portion of his chakra had been stolen away from him, leaving him in a dire condition. Orochimaru underestimated Naruto, and that was now causing him gravely. As he looked into those eyes, the Sannin tried to move, but Naruto's blade was in his face. Orochimaru couldn't believe it. It was impossible. Even if he underestimated the child, this power was unlike anything that he's seen before. Those eyes. As Naruto looked at him and dissipated his blade, Orochimaru was confused. He was on the wrap. The child had the intent to kill him, and given the power that the blade was currently charging with, he thought he would have used it, but instead he stopped. Naruto did not attack him. He simply looked at the Sannin, and a smile graced his features. As Naruto seemed to be thinking to himself, he then walked away. Orochimaru was confused. Was that pity? Anger coursed through him as he chose to attack Naruto from behind with a broken blade. However, the blade lost its handle, and an arrow sliced through Orochimaru's leg, tearing through it, causing the Sannin to drop to one knee, looking pitiful in the face of a child. It wasn't my desire to kill you because you're going to be useful to me, said Naruto. Very useful. I can see it now. As Naruto turned towards Orochimaru, Orochimaru saw something strange. At first he had 3 pupils in his eye, but now he saw the hollow effect of another one forming before it dissipated away. As Yhwach said, Naruto was going to be much greater than him. As Naruto left the area, making his way towards where his teammates had retreated to, as they weren't able to stay given all the collision and explosions that were taking place. Orochimaru was left there, as he was speared by a child who said that he was going to be useful. As Naruto made his way off, meanwhile that was going on, she received the call. It was time, Urza said. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification stay posted. But I'm hoping I'll see you guys soon. Peace.